Elon Musk, in a new interview, and several Tesla executives made a number of comments this weekend about the future of Tesla, Cybercab, and robotaxi. First, Elon posted saying that Cybercab is awesome, and he then even said the Robovan is coming. Even Tesla Vice President of AI, Ashok Goswami, also posted yesterday saying he's working on using full self-driving for RVs. Second, Tesla has a new job posting, this time for hiring quality inspectors for Cybercab production rollouts. It seems Cybercab is still on track for an April launch. Third, a number of updates for full self-driving progress in Europe. Spain just granted Tesla nationwide FSD testing permission for 19 cars. Tesla is now inviting the public for free FSD rides in Germany, France, and Italy, and new driving license rules EU-wide are good news. Fourth, the tide is turning with Wall Street now buying into Tesla's autonomous future. Stifel, ARK, Wedbush, Cantor Fitzgerald, and Deepwater all made new comments this weekend. And finally, we got new data showing Tesla making the Cybercab a two-seater was the right call. Waymo's report showing 90% of robotaxi trips have two passengers or less. Today, we're joined by Jeff Lutz. He's a multi-decade supply chain executive and chief quality officer. He's now CEO of his own supply chain consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, there's a lot going on. A lot of great interviews and info this weekend. Let's go through it.
Yeah, we'll cover most of the interviews, the new interviews tomorrow. But today, there's this news about FSD, Cybercab, and being used in Europe. And so here's Elon and Ashok's comments about Tesla's Cybercabs and even the RV. So Tesla owner Silicon Valley posted Cybercab is individualized point-to-point autonomous transport. We've seen this video many times before. Elon said, this is going to be awesome. He said, the future should look the future. Robovan is amazing, mind-blowing. And of course, Elon said, it's coming. Okay, so of course, he can just be talking about the future. But here's what Ashok said. That Bojan Tungas posted a video. I'll play that. As soon as they figure out FSD for these, I'm heading for the road full time. Request for startup, FSD for RVs, Gary Tan says. And then Ashok said, on it. So I don't know. Of course, this could just be something if they're having fun, but yeah, it would be fun to have an RV. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, this would be revolutionary just to be able to, at this point in time when this product comes out, you would set your destination and you can go to sleep and you can sleep in a bed, or you can sleep in a comfortable setting, or you can have more than your typical number of passengers and then just wake up in your destination. It's one of those innovations that really changes things, just like transcontinental flights where, within 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours from the US, you could be in multiple countries. This would this would be the equivalent of that for, traveling to different states and then different, even in Europe, in different countries, and waking up in a different country. It would just change a lot of different things. I think it would also change a lot of different businesses as well. You think of package delivery, you think of any kind of delivery of larger or smaller objects. I think this really, so Tesla's, they're bookending this. They're going for really the smallest number of passengers, and that's based on data with the Cybercab, based on percentage of trips, and how many occupants are in them for rideshare. And then they're going to go for this larger vehicle. And then they've got the sexy vehicles in the middle that could still perform those capabilities. So I think it would be this would be one of those things that really changes things when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is like this is not just about Cybercab or Robovan, right? This is a platform for multiple different form factors. Do you think that the unboxed model that they're using for the Cybercab, and of course it's going to be just a Cybercab this year. I don't expect Robovan for a long time, but they use that same process to then create different versions. Um, here's I mean, clearly they're not going to make a motorcycle. Elon just revealed the game-changing Tesla motorcycle as the joke, and they even had a AI generated video here. But Elon replied to that saying, "No, that's never going to happen." He said, never happening is we can't make motorcycles safe. And then he's just telling community notes. My near-death experience was on a road bike, and so he had a near-death experience a long time ago. Now, dirt bikes are safe if you ride them carefully, but you can't be smashed by a truck, but not when this motorcycle's out in the street and so forth. So it's just not going to make a motorbike, but they will make many kinds of form factors, right?
Yeah, I mean the unbox model is will allow them to do other form factors. It's really a cost. It's really a cost play, but it's not just reducing. It's not a cheap thing. It's a value thing. It's can you do more assembly more quickly and reduce the total process time of building a vehicle, and then can you reduce both the part count and the process count? Remember, the process count is how many different things are you doing to that object from its inception in the factory is a kind of a bucket of raw materials to the point it's available for purchase by a consumer or business. And when you're in manufacturing, you're trying to reduce part count and you're trying to reduce the number of process steps involved as well. So I view the Cybercab as a platform to build off of. It's the no paint booth, it's the quicker, total process times, and that should allow them to do other form factors of vehicles that feel premium, feel mid-tier premium or whatever tier they want to play in, but the value, the cost structure involved, it's a value per dollar thing. You're building something more efficiently and you're giving somebody very good value.
Well, okay, so they're already hiring for the Cybercab. Um, Look at this. This is Tesla hiring quality inspectors for Cybercab production rollout. Robotaxi build is getting serious. Quality inspectors for Cybercab in Austin. So this is nothing. I didn't see anything here that was anything different than just a quality inspector. But once they have the Cybercab on, I call it a work cells, a production line, work cells, be able to then create a Cybercab. How much longer would it take them to create a different form factor if they want to make the Robovan or even smaller kinds of vehicles? Is it just like as long as it would take if you were to roll out a whole new production line for the old production model, or do you think this could actually be sooner than we realize? Or yeah, they're just joking. RVs are coming, but that's like 3 years away.
The answer depends on the part number and process reuse. My guess is they want to use the Cybercab as a platform to do other vehicles. So if there's process reuse, think of this reaction injection molding process to get these panels on the outside of the vehicle. If they get that process down on Cybercab, then they don't have to reinvent it for another vehicle. They just may change colors. They may change the shape of that's being reaction injection molded, but they're not having to reinvent the process. So those things will go quicker based on the percentage of part number and process design process reuse that I expect them to build off of this platform. It's a way for Tesla to get physical real world AI products to market at the best value per dollar. That's what to me Unboxed is. I fully expect Optimus to be built in a similar manner as well, with individual work cells and then those limbs joining at some sort of central process to complete final assembly on the product versus a complete serial manufacturing one piece flow line. I expect Optimus will be unboxed as well.
Yeah. Do you think the van is the next vehicle, or could it be a smaller, mid-sized, kind of similar to the van, but not so big? Or do you think it is the van? That's because they announced it and they showed it.
Well, I think the Cybercab will ship next. I think, quite frankly, the Roadster may ship after
Right.
that, and then
Sure.
the Robovan
Yeah. So
will
you think
ship
it is a
after that.
Robovan? Okay.
Yeah.
And then time frame wise, Jeff, this quality inspector being hired now or quality inspectors being hired now? It's the last month of December, last month of the year. and they had said that the rollout will be starting in April, 4 months from now. Does this match your expectation in terms of time frame?
Yeah, they're staffing a manufacturing line and they're standing up a production operation. So the first things you want to hire is you want to hire the technicians and engineers, obviously, and I think they have them, or for the most part, they those requisitions have been out for a while actually. And then they did another wave of them, and then you want to hire the assemblers. The quality inspectors come close to last,
Hmm.
and so to me, they're standing up a manufacturing line. And if this requisition's posted now and they hire them next week, that's great. They'll be training on the pilot line that's running right now, that's building cybercabs. My guess is they have a pilot line, uh, kind of a final verification line constructed or mostly constructed, or it's in some sort of form where it's nearing completion, and they'll train on that line. That's very common. You don't wait till everything's done and then hire the quality inspectors. You start ramping that up pre pilot.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Next segment. A lot of new updates happening in Europe for full self driving. Some of them sound good, but it's not a done deal. But it sounds very, very good here. First, a roundup. We already knew about Netherlands. Tesla's pushing hard for national approval. Their body is called RDW. They have a demo scheduled in February, and if it's approved, will unlock most of the EU via mutual recognition. But people are just cautiously saying this is just a demo on February. It doesn't mean it's going to be approved in February. It means that they're going to have to show this to Netherlands regulatory body to see if they'll approve it. But movement in Spain. Spain just granted Tesla's nationwide FSD testing permission. So from January 2026 to July 2028, they can test 19 cars. No safety driver required. All public roads. Remote monitoring allowed. Biggest testing approval in Europe so far. That's good
That's
news.
big.
And then the other one here is we're starting to see videos now because Germany, France, and Italy have allowed Tesla to invite the public for free FSD supervised passenger rides in major cities, Berlin, Paris, Milan, Rome. I'll show you that for those videos. And then another point here is EU wide. New driver's license rules now require ADAS knowledge in theory and practical tests. It's going to become mandatory by 2029, some countries earlier. Drivers will be officially trained on systems like FSC supervised. Okay. I mean, that's
Yeah.
driver's license rules means that they're not, I don't know, they're not like saying no necessarily. What's your thoughts on any of these?
I think this is going to be nonlinear. I've said this a couple times before, but I, I, just forget about the continent you're in. If you're just a human being and you sit in an FSD 14.2 vehicle from Tesla and you experience it, it's going to be very difficult for you to. Yes, there are issues, but it's going to be very difficult after you go through the data from Tesla, where they have the accident statistics, they have the intervention statistics, they have all this information, and then you sit and experience it yourself. It's going to be very difficult for you as a regulator to say, you know what, uh, we're going to hold for whatever, because what we're finding is there's no other alternative at scale. So there's something here that's safer, and the data says it. And now if I'm a regulator and I can actually experience it, because it would have been a little sketchy. Like again, 13.2.9 was the best thing to all of us that were testing it at the time, but it had its set of issues. 14.2 is a level of polish on it. 14.2.1 that you can really start expanding the exposure to regulators. So I just, the net of this is, I think it's going to be nonlinear. I think you're going to start
Mhm.
seeing approvals, and then they'll start to snowball, because one country will just look at the other and say, well, they did it. I mean, South Korea is a big one.
Mhm.
Australia is a big one. of course, North America. This is really, and this is what I don't. I think we have a statistics and analysis, a basic problem in the community because people talk about, well, the FSD adoption rate is only 12%. Don't, I mean, go look this up. But Tesla ships something called FSD all over the world. But they're the only places where there's FSD supervised is about a third of the fleet. So a third of the fleet has the 12% adoption rate, but these, I think people are thinking about the total fleet of 12% of 8 million or 9 million vehicles.
Mhm.
And 2/3 of that fleet has basically, a highway assist type feature package. It doesn't have this point to point, address to address, full self driving capability until it gets approved, like in per the list you just went through. So I actually think the adoption rate is going to go up. I'm hearing anecdotally from people that are using the trial that like this, they're like, this blows me away. This is unlike anything we've tried before, unlike anything I've seen before. So I think that was a masterstroke by Tesla to initiate the free trial before Thanksgiving weekend in the United States, probably, and for the next month, which will get you into Christmas. Those are two holidays where you're going to get the most exposure, where you can have family members showing family members and friends showing friends. The only thing about it is in the Midwest and parts of the East Coast, there's going to be a lot of snow. But if we have time, we'll talk about that. I was thoroughly impressed with how it performs on snow.
Yeah, I saw that you did that. I had two phone calls from family members, friends who found out about the free FSD trial, and then they were just calling me just to make sure they understand it all. So it was good news. And then you were talking about how FSD is, of course, now uh, launched in South Korea, and I think only just S and X for now, but it's going to expand quickly. Their news outlets have been producing, episodes on it, segments on it, explaining how great it is. It's being well received around the world. Now Europe is starting to get their videos coming out, and like you said, it's almost all very, very positive. Actually, the version that they're using in Europe is actually the latest version. So he says, come experience FSC supervised on your local roads. This is directly from Tesla. Ride along in a passenger seat to experience how it handles real world traffic and the most stressful parts of daily driving, making the roads safer for all. Available now in Italy, France, and Germany. So they have all these regulations. And so that's why they could, you'll see that the words are different and, have to be hands ready. Yun Tatsai, one of the engineers of Tesla's autonomy, says, experience the autonomy future. And as this person asked, what software version will it be? And Yan Tasai said, latest and the greatest. And then, yeah, sorry, you want to make a comment on that?
I just gonna I keep thinking about FSD and the fact that it's not a fixed heuristic piece of software. Your car has a model running in it, and your car is receiving input from cameras and making decisions based on the model in the car. And that model is being updated every time. Well, we don't know the exact frequency, but we know there's obviously a huge update with V14. The point is this just continues to get better as new things or new scenarios get thrown in front of it, new edge case. It just continues to improve, and that's a very special. It's not a manual thing. It's not mostly a manual thing. That's a very special product. It's a very unique product. I I would be surprised if a year or two from now, if we're not looking at magazine covers or you're talking about like the invention, of the year of the decade, and
Mm.
it's not this. I would be surprised. There'd have to be whatever.
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
be
you might be
shocked.
surprised though.
I may be surprised because
Yeah.
apparently,
Yes.
our cars could literally start uh, talking to us and spontaneous, which they already are.
Yeah.
and it doesn't get covered. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if this is not viewed as literally the invention. We talk about ChatGPT all the time, and I think on every level, this is better, and everybody on the planet, it needs to get into a vehicle and be transported at some point during the day, during the week, during the month. So this isn't, not everybody needs ChatGPT. Not everybody has to have an LLM in front of them.
Mhm.
I think it is going to be. I think they're important, and I think they are going to be a core part of everything. But everybody needs transportation. So I think this is, as this gets wider and wider exposure, this is going to be critically acclaimed. I I do think that will happen.
My f-
Even through all the noise, I think it will happen.
yeah, okay. I hope you're right, and I think you're right. On Wednesday, my family flew in, right, for Thanksgiving, and drove them in my car, of course, and showed them. And so that's why it's brilliant that Tesla did this during the Thanksgiving. Lots and lots of new people have experienced this, but it was perfect except for navigation issues. And
Yes.
it, I had to break. Why did it take that road? And why did it choose to go that way? So, my family members in the car said, "Oh, they weren't like blown away necessarily." The next day, they dropped 14.2.1, auto updated the car, and then it's been flawless for the rest of the holiday, the weekend. And so now it's like, yeah, all of them walked away going, "Oh my god." But it
This
was just how
OTA thing that
quickly that point one, yeah, OTA, automatic, by the way, Jeff. Why did they this one? It felt like it was an automated one where you didn't have to do anything and it just automatically updated. And sometimes they wait for you to decide, I'm going to update it.
yeah, I'm not sure. I still don't even, I don't have that version
Yeah.
yet. But just Tesla's ability to update this fleet. Remember, these cars have different hardware configurations.
Mm.
There's even I firmly believe that there's, micro revisions of the computer. Now, don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I've dealt with multi-year production of things before, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's changes where they would uprev the hardware, or they would decide. The point
Wow.
is there's a lot of hardware configurations out there, and for them to be able to roll out OTA like this across hundreds of thousands, if not a couple of million vehicles the way they do, that in itself is a competitive advantage. We don't have another car company that, I call it a car company. We don't have a company that updates, that produces robots on wheels or robots of any form that can update software like this. The only close proximity are phones, smartphones.
Yeah. It's very impressive. Okay. Let's watch a few videos of FSD in Europe. This is happening now. We're seeing more and more of these videos. And so far, it's been flawless. This Bettina Schmidt pointed this out. A madness. Dear EU regulatory authority, it works. Experience it
Yeah.
yourself. The best driver in the car is not yourself, but the FSD driver. Um, and This is the video that he was sharing. I think this person on the left is a Tesla employee, right? And this person on the right is the passenger, because that's the rules that they have to have. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be boring. I'm going to skip her out here.
Yeah.
Basically, nothing happens here. Oh, I guess I missed that one. Okay.
I mean, just think about it, you're in a new country. It's like this rental program from Tesla too. I hope it goes to other countries because, quite frankly, I would feel a lot better. I do not rent cars in other countries. Maybe I would in Mexico or Canada, and that would be okay. But when I'm in Europe
Right.
or in Asia, I'm a little bit
Right.
more uneasy because I'm worried I'm gonna misinterpret a road sign, or I'm gonna forget, like when I'm in the UK, that I should be driving on the other side of the road. But with
Hmm.
FSD, I that would be a game changer if I could just literally get in and my phone app, which already has all my Tesla settings. I'm in another country. I sit in all my seat settings, all my music, and everything. Even the last setting I had for FSD, if I'm in hurry mode, it would just set it.
Hmm.
It just, to me, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I was in Japan, same thing. My daughter asked me, if could we rent a car? Would you be able to drive left, different side of the road, all sorts of signs? I said, I don't think so. First of all, I'm absolutely not used to driving on a different side of the road. I think I said I can figure that out. But if you look at the street sign, the street lights, it's very confusing. Many of them actually have red lights, and you're supposed to go straight.
Yeah.
I think there's three lights, and one of them is referring to one of the lanes, and it's red, 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 and you're supposed to go straight for your lane. So I got to figure this out, right, and not make a mistake. Here's another one. It said, Peter Schmidt, it was fantastic to experience FSD in Frankfurt. Unfortunately, I only recorded 15 minutes to have the opportunity to speak with the driver, as audio recordings were not permitted. A great ride without any interference, of course. 15 minutes worth of his drive. Um, yeah, he's not allowed to speak to the driver, so they're focused on it. Again, it's going to be very boring, but you can see the cars driving in totally different city, different signs, different words, language, different rules. Yeah, different kind of cars.
And this is what these testers are out there, they're doing. They're like, okay, are there any edge cases we miss? Is there anything? And what's nice is Tesla has a very quick way to label what's not done correctly and correct it, and correct the behavior, versus having to create all this from the ground up and create all these rule sets from the ground up. This car knows how to drive wherever it goes, and it can adapt very quickly. And then you're just dealing with minor edge cases.
They wouldn't have done this though if it wasn't already ready. Like it's already, they've been doing it for
Yeah.
probably a long time, and now they're going, okay, we were absolutely for sure ready. This is flawless in this area. This is the actual data. I thought it was. Oops, let's get this out. Hold on. Where this guy, FSD Italy, he's starting to produce lots of videos, and he's showing you the actual screenshots. FSD demo was performed on a late 2025 Model 3 running 14.1.7. This is, I think 14.2 is the latest, but it's going to be updated very soon. Interesting findings are three labels that appear before a maneuver, and that is EU compliance. So if you look at this one here very closely, it says FSD supervised hands ready mode only. And then over here it says guide autonoma, which means it's self-driving. You can set the speed on this one. And then, yeah, you can actually you can scroll it up to set the how maximum speed, and then initiating left turn maneuver. So 3 seconds before it actually does it, it has to tell you what it's going to do. No, not necessary, but compliance with the rules. Interesting. And then what do you
Yeah.
think about the hands ready mode instead of hands off, hands free?
I think it's just the terminology that they want by region. That's a quick, easy thing for Tesla to do. And yeah, at some point, I would think that the AI, and this is where Grok could come in and say, okay, what country am I in? And what are all the regulations for this country per the latest ADAS and hands out driving code, whatever the regulatory body, framework, and documentation is. At some point, right now, Tesla is manually going through these things. That's the right thing to do. But I'm assuming at some point, Grok would be able to go through them, interpret them, and provide output to the actual Tesla AI framework and computer in the vehicle, and or back for training back in the central office in Texas. I would think at some point Grok would be able to go and find all these,
Hmm.
and also just be aware. This, to me, this is part of the offering of working with Tesla. Is this is a very it's getting through a regulatory body. I've done this many times before, with either setting up manufacturing or getting a product qualified in a country. There's a lot of, you got to read documents, you've got to process
Mhm.
them, then you've got to review your results with the regulator. I'm just thinking, like, what if Grok can go and pull these documents, analyze them for changes between revisions, what changed, and then actually go over and look at the code and say, all right, here's this portion of the code that's set aside
Oh, I
for
see what you're
some sort
saying.
of
Yeah.
regulatory lookup table. And okay,
Mhm.
okay, here's, you'd have to have some sort of sanity check on it to make sure
Mhm.
it doesn't, lose control or hallucinate on something. But I would think you'd be able to marry Grok in
Mhm.
Tesla AI here to XAI and Tesla AI together to go out and find this information and turn it into valuable input
Yeah, that's brilliant.
by
I hope they
country.
are,
And
and
by the way,
I'm
that could
pretty
be
sure
part
they
of the
are. Yeah.
selling to these countries of like, we're going to make sure we have the
Exactly.
latest and greatest. We're going to have our AI is going to run and make sure
Yeah.
that it's going out and doing it. And we're going to have some sort of manual audit that goes in and verifies it.
Yeah. So nothing has been approved per se in Europe, but all these movements, it sets a stage, right? Because like you said earlier, if the Europe authorities actually see it, more and more videos are being played, more and more public consumers are actually using it. It's just to prove that this works in your streets and abides by your laws, right? And then let's make it happen. So, list of this is what happened this weekend. The list of analysts who think Tesla will benefit immensely from robotaxis keeps growing. You got the tide is turning. Wall Street is finally buying into Tesla's autonomous future. You got Stifel analyst Stephen Congaro. He said Tesla's FSD and robotaxi services are critical to the story for the company. Kathy Wood of ARK Invest estimates 90% of Tesla's enterprise value and earnings could come from its autonomous systems by 2029. Both of those two seems to be pretty straightforward. Wedbush Dan Ives thinks Tesla's market cap could reach 2 trillion by next end of next year because of autonomous vehicle. Cantor Fitzgerald, Andre Shepard, believes Tesla's on track with its autonomous Cybercab production for 2026. I think that's critical. Boosted Tesla's share price target last month to 510. Gene Munster forecasted up to 40% of Tesla's operating income could come from robotaxis and licensing FSC by 2030. That seems still very, very low. 40%. Um, oh no, sorry, I'm sorry. 40% of Tesla's operating income. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is, still low, but yes, that's by 2030. That's great. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, look, Tesla is going to go through this transition. It's happening right now in front of our eyes, where it's going to go from a company that was profitably producing EVs and by all measures a market leader, but also it's a struggle to produce hardware and ship it profitably. It's a struggle. Volumes have not grown as there has not been a vehicle at a meaningfully new price tier. There's no question they've made progress on COGS on the 3 and Y platform, but to take that next jump up, they're either going to have some sort of industry changing innovation with FSD unsupervised, or they're going to have a vehicle that's at a much lower price point and most likely change and add a new channel of sales, which we think will be robotaxi fleets, leasing, rentals, that order. So what's nice is Tesla's doing both of these things. They're working on an unsupervised AI led driven platform that the car will drive you and you do not have to monitor it. And that will be an inflection point when you can text and drive and the car is approved to do that. And then the other inflection point I think is this sub $30,000 vehicle. So when Tesla that's going to be a meaningful jump lower. That's going to be a 20%, 25% reduction in what Tesla is selling today. Now I know the channel may be different. These may not go to consumers in the beginning, but the point is Tesla will have a hardware offering below 30,000. So between that and then between unsupervised, I think a lot of analysts are looking at this and saying, look, there's a real catalyst here. I think the tenuous thing for investors and analysts is what happens between those 2 points. And are we going to have a quarter of of where we're not throwing off cash? Tesla has been very judicious and built up this significant, greater than $40 billion cash pile. They're in one of the best shapes from a balance sheet perspective of any energy or auto maker. And so I think that's the key, is what happens between now and then both of those new realities at scale. The new sub $30,000 availability, that reality of that, and then FSD unsupervised. What's nice is we're pretty close. We're inside of a year. And I think markets look ahead 6 to 9 months, maybe
Hmm.
6 to 12 months. So who knows? Maybe Q1 is going to be a little bit tenuous on vehicle volumes. By the way, there's a lot going on in the economy right now, too. I mean, manufacturing is all but contracting in the US. We're getting very strong, I would say, GDP numbers, but that may not be entirely representative. I just think there's a mixed bag of information. There was some very good information on retail sales over the holiday weekend here in the US, but it was mixed. The e-commerce piece of it was very strong, so that could just be a shift of people from brick and mortar to e-commerce, but it was very strong. It was up, I think, 9%. But the non-e-commerce was only up, I want to say, 4%. And this is dollar sales. So if we have 3% inflation and you're up 4% in dollar sales, you're up net a percent. So it's not a disaster. It's not like it's some major contraction in retail sales, but it wasn't incredibly strong, but the e-commerce number was strong. So like I said, lots of mixed information out there. I think we have a lot of disruptions happening with what's happening with inventory levels, tariffs, people trying to game what they think the next moves are. And so anyway, it's a tenuous time if you're in business and
Hmm.
you've got a high dollar if you're producing product. So I think Tesla is set up well, as a lot of their revenue is going to start transitioning from hardware to software.
Yeah, I mean, economy, macro, tariff wars, these things will happen, but we can only focus on following Tesla and the three things you mentioned, right? So FSD, of course, so we talked about it. It looks like it's doing really, really well. It's progressed 14.2, 14.3. It's already on their last few nines, and now it's being spread around the world. Cybercab production looks like it's still on track, right? We quality inspectors being hired. So far, there hasn't been any kind of news that show us that's going to fall off the tracks. Seems to be going well. And then robotaxi, hopefully, and the choice of the cybercab, whether or not that's going to be the right call, and the latest data. Thank you from John of the EV Wire, the EV Universe. He shared this data from Waymo Mobility Data Insights, and it said that Waymo's Q3 occupancy data shows 90% of Waymo robotaxi trips have two or less people. So 90% have two or less people. And if you look at the data here, this is trip occupancy data from Waymo. You got 5% is zero passengers, 71% is one passenger, 15% is two passengers. So only 9%, less than 10%, is more than two passengers. So they made the right call. That Tesla Cybercab only going with two passenger car is the right call. With, by the way, huge back trunk for deliveries. I mean, I'm assuming that's what the zero passenger is all about. Um, yeah, so it's the right call. Thoughts on that decision or stats?
That was data driven, and that also aids in the cost structure of the product. It changes the whole structure, physical structure of the product. So I think that was a good move to really get the platform and the service to scale. It's really hard to scale something that costs $100,000, $200,000, even $50,000. The cost of capital, that wall you have to climb over, is excessive because there's a payback period on all these vehicles. and there's a time to value where basically when do you start, when do you flip the gross margin positive on a vehicle? When does it become positive? And that wall is just a lot taller if your vehicle's a couple $100,000. And you are right. The other thing you have to be careful about is when you have those expensive vehicles is you are ripe for disruption, because if another service comes in and they have lower cost vehicles, they have more scale, they have more automation in their whole operational
Mm-hmm.
chain, they can disrupt you. They can do 30 cents a mile and you're at $3 a mile. And then all of a sudden now your money losing service, where you may have been in the volume lead up to that point, now you got to start competing on price. And that is where a lot of, bad things can happen. So
Yeah, Jeff.
we'll see.
Yeah, perfect timing. Perfect segue. Take a look at what's going on here with Toyota. So Toyota's designer was interviewed, and he said this. This is Karim Diatubaji, lead product designer at Toyota Connected Europe. And he said this, he posted this on LinkedIn this week. 90% of robotaxi trips have 2 or less passengers. So why are we using 5-seater vehicles? Hmm. So the point being that many other car companies have said, we'll just take our current cars, Waymo and others, and we'll just put on
Yeah.
lidars and they're good to go. Tesla goes, no, I'm going to take a huge bet. I'm going to create a 2-seater, which is very small number of cars are made for 2-seaters, because it's just doesn't sell as often as much as bigger and bigger cars. And it may be that like everything you just said, Tesla might have made the right decision there. Perfectly sized
Well,
for all
I
these
mean, they
reasons.
clearly did. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Follow Jeff on his X account, the Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.